The red light on camera 3 blinked on, and Avery Chen smiled into its unblinking eye. The stadium roared around her, a cathedral of noise and spectacle. Super Bowl Sunday, the pinnacle of her career. "We're live in 30 seconds, Avery." The producer's voice crackled through her earpiece. "The segment after this is yours. 2 minutes to shine." She nodded, the professional mask still perfect despite everything crumbling inside her. Her phone burned in her pocket, the texts she'd discovered still searing into her consciousness. Somewhere in the luxury boxes above, her husband Daniel was sitting with a woman who wasn't her. A woman whose name had been scrubbed from their conversations for years, until now. The monitor to her left showed the current segment wrapping up. The hosts bantered, through to commercial, and then it would be her turn. Her moment, her revenge. 10 seconds, the producer said. Avery took a deep breath. She'd prepared for this moment her entire career, but not like this. Never like this. In 5, 4, 3, the producer's voice faded as the camera's red light glowed steadily. This was it. No turning back now. 3 months earlier, it came through. Avery burst into their kitchen, waving her phone like a victory flag. "I got the Super Bowl assignment." Daniel looked up from his laptop, his dark hair falling across his forehead in that way that still made her heart skip after 8 years of marriage. His smile was slow, careful. "That's incredible, Av. You've been working toward this forever." "Since I was 22, she confirmed, dancing across their sun-drenched Chicago apartment to plant a kiss on his lips. "I beat out everyone in the Midwest division. Even Parker, and you know how much of a brown-noser he is with the executives." Daniel pulled her onto his lap, arms encircling her waist. At 42, he was still as fit as when they'd met 12 years ago. Her assigned interview with the rising star of the Chicago Bears marketing department. Before the scandal that had nearly destroyed his career. "I'm proud of you," he said. And she believed him, though something flickered behind his eyes. Something hesitant. "What is it?" she asked, reading his face as easily as the teleprompter. "Nothing." His smile brightened, but didn't quite reach his eyes. "Just thinking about logistics. The Super Bowl's in Phoenix this year, right? You'll be gone for what, a week?" 2, actually. She traced his jawline with her fingertip. "Pre-game coverage, interviews, the whole package. Plus I get 2 credentials. I was hoping you'd come with me for at least the game day. 2 weeks in Phoenix in February. Sounds perfect." He kissed her again, deeper this time. "Of course I'll come." Later that night, as Daniel slept beside her, Avery scrolled through her work emails, still riding the high of her assignment. She'd been a sports reporter for 15 years, climbing from local stations to her current position as the lead correspondent for the Midwest's biggest sports network. The Super Bowl was the holy grail, and she'd finally reached it. Her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend Zoe. "Just heard the news." "Super Bowl, baby! When do you leave, and can I have your apartment while you're gone?" Avery smiled in the dark. "Absolutely not. Last time you borrowed my place, you reorganized my entire closet by color. I'm still finding mismatched shoes. You're welcome. So when do you leave?" "January 28th. 2 whole weeks in Phoenix, Daniel going?" "For the game weekend, yeah. Can't get away from work for the full 2 weeks. His loss." "Hey, who's producing the broadcast this year?" Avery paused, her thumbs hovering over the keyboard. She knew exactly who was producing the broadcast. The name had jumped out at her immediately in the briefing email, making her stomach clench. Renee Westfield. The typing indicator bubbled for a long moment before Zoe's reply appeared. "Oh, have you told Daniel?" "Not yet. Do you think it'll be weird?" Weird was an understatement. Renee Westfield wasn't just any producer. She was the woman Daniel had been caught with 8 years ago, a scandal that had nearly cost him everything when the photos leaked. It had happened before Avery and Daniel were married, when they'd only been dating for a few months. She'd forgiven him. They'd moved past it. They never mentioned Renee's name, and now Avery would be working directly under her for the biggest assignment of her career. It'll be fine. Ancient history. But as she put her phone down and curled against her husband's sleeping form, the seed of doubt had already been planted. The coming weeks were a whirlwind of preparation. Avery researched angles, lined up interviews, and coordinated with the teams expected to make the championship. Daniel seemed genuinely supportive, even helping her practice questions late into the night. "You're going to be amazing," he told her repeatedly. "This is your moment." It was only when she mentioned Renee, casually over dinner one night, that his facade cracked. "She's the executive producer?" He set his fork down slowly. "I didn't realize she'd moved up so high in the network. Does it bother you?" Avery asked, watching him carefully. "That I'll be working with her?" Daniel shook his head, reaching for his wine glass. "Of course not. That was a lifetime ago. 8 years? Like I said, ancient history." He smiled, but his knuckles were white around his glass. "She and I haven't spoken since, well, you know." Avery nodded, letting the subject drop. But that night, she caught him checking Renee's social media accounts on his phone, quickly switching screens when she entered their bedroom. The preparation continued. December turned to January, and soon Avery was packing for Phoenix. "I wish you were coming with me from the start," she said as Daniel helped her zip her suitcase closed. "Me too. But with the Freeman account launching next week, there's no way I can get away." He kissed her forehead. "I'll be there for the last 4 days, though. The most important part." "I've never been away from you for so long," she admitted. 10 days. He pulled her close. "We can handle 10 days. And then I'll be there with that second credential, watching you kill it on the sidelines." The morning of her departure, Daniel drove her to O'Hare, carried her bags to check-in, and held her tightly before security. "Knock 'em dead, superstar," he whispered into her hair. "I love you," she replied. "Forever," he answered, their ritual response since their wedding day. Avery looked back once before entering the security line. Daniel stood watching her, hand raised in farewell, a strange expression on his face that she couldn't quite read. Phoenix was chaos and opportunity wrapped in desert sunshine. Avery was immediately swept into production meetings, location shoots, and interview prep. Renee Westfield was professional but distant, treating Avery like any other correspondent rather than the wife of her former lover. It was a relief. The days blurred together in a hectic rhythm of work and preparation. Avery checked in with Daniel every night by video call, updating him on her day while he talked about the Freeman account and the bitter Chicago winter she was missing. "Only 4 more days until you're here," she said on day 6, lying in her hotel bed with her laptop propped on her stomach. "I can't wait to show you around." "About that," Daniel said, his image freezing briefly before resolving. "The Freeman launch is having some issues. I might need to come a day later than planned." Disappointment stabbed through her. "Really? You can't get away?" "I'm trying, Av, I promise. If worst comes to worst, I'll still be there in time for the game." She nodded, forcing a smile. "Okay, keep me posted." The next day, Avery was recording a segment at a local sports bar when her phone buzzed. A text from Zoe. "Hey, weird question. Is Daniel already in Phoenix?" Avery finished her recording before responding, "No, why? Thought I saw him at O'Hare this morning." Guy looked just like him heading to a Phoenix gate. A cold feeling washed over Avery. She checked her calendar. Daniel wasn't supposed to fly in for another 3 days. Must have been someone else. He's got meetings all week. Probably. The guy was with a woman anyway. Just looked so much like Daniel from behind. The cold feeling intensified. Avery called Daniel immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. She texted him, "Hey, you in meetings? Zoe thought she saw your doppelganger at O'Hare this morning." Hours passed without a response. That evening, when she returned to her hotel, she called again. Voicemail. She opened Instagram, scrolling mindlessly to distract herself from the growing knot in her stomach, and froze. A new post from a Chicago-based client of Daniel's showed him tagged in a photo from that morning's meeting. He was wearing his blue suit, the one he'd laid out before she left for her trip. His alibi was solid. The relief was short-lived. Just as she was about to close the app, a notification appeared. Renee Westfield had posted a photo from a local Phoenix restaurant, captioned, perfect pre-game dinner spot. The photo showed nothing incriminating, just a beautifully plated meal and a glass of wine. But something about it nagged at Avery. The restaurant, Vincenzo's, was one Daniel had specifically recommended she try while in Phoenix. "One of my clients went last year and couldn't stop talking about it," he'd said. But how would his client know about a local Phoenix restaurant? The Freeman account was based in Chicago. Avery's reporter instincts kicked in. She opened her laptop and checked Daniel's credit card statement. They shared an account for transparency after the Renee incident years ago. Nothing unusual appeared. Then she checked his airline account. And there it was, a first-class ticket to Phoenix. Departing that morning, returning the day after the Super Bowl, her hands began to shake. She pulled up Renee's Instagram again, studying the restaurant photo. In the reflection of the wine glass, barely visible, was the outline of her dining companion. A man's hand, wearing a watch identical to the one Avery had given Daniel for their 5th anniversary. She called him again. Voicemail. Then she texted Renee directly. A message she'd never thought she'd send. "Is my husband with you?" 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared. Then reappeared. Finally, "I think you should talk to Daniel." The next morning, Avery woke to a text from Daniel. "Sorry about yesterday. Marathon meetings with the Freeman team. Crashed early. Call you tonight. No mention of Phoenix. No explanation for his ticket." She went through her day in a fog, recording segments and conducting interviews on autopilot while her mind raced. During the lunch break, she drove to Vincenzo's, showed Daniel's picture to the maitre d' and confirmed her worst fears. Yes? He had dined there the previous night with Ms. Westfield. They were regulars whenever he visited Phoenix. Regulars. This wasn't the first time. Back at her hotel, Avery called Daniel's office. "Mr. Ellison is out of town this week," his assistant informed her cheerfully. "He's taking some personal time. Would you like his temporary contact number?" "No, thank you," Avery managed, her voice steady despite the roaring in her ears. "I'm his wife. I have it." After hanging up, she sat on the edge of her hotel bed, staring at nothing. 8 years ago, when the photos of Daniel and Renee had surfaced, he'd sworn it was a one-time mistake. He'd begged forgiveness, promised complete transparency, even suggested they postpone their wedding plans until Avery could trust him again. She'd believed him. They'd worked through it together, built a life on the foundation of that second chance, and now this. Her phone rang. Not Daniel, but the production coordinator. "Avery, we've got a change in the schedule. Renee wants you to anchor the pre-game sideline segment on Sunday. 2 minutes live right before kickoff. It's prime placement. The opportunity of a lifetime, handed to her by her husband's lover." "I'll be there," she said hollowly. That evening, Daniel called as promised. "How's it going, superstar?" His voice was warm, familiar. The voice she'd woken up to for 8 years. "Where are you, Daniel?" She asked quietly, a pause. "At home. Just got back from the office." "Don't lie to me," she said, her voice breaking. "Please, not again." The silence stretched between them, thousands of miles made longer by the betrayal. I can explain," he finally said. "You're in Phoenix. With Renee. It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" "Because I checked, Daniel. I checked everything. The ticket, the restaurant. Her assistant said you're regulars." He exhaled slowly. "I need to tell you this in person." "No, you need to tell me now." "How long?" Another pause. It never really stopped, Av. The words hit her like physical blows. 8 years of lies. Their entire marriage built on deception. "I tried," he continued, his voice strained. "God knows I tried to end it. But whenever she's in Chicago, or I'm where she's producing—" Stop. Avery couldn't bear to hear more. "So what was the plan here? You'd use my extra credential to attend the Super Bowl with her? Watch me report from the sidelines while you sat with her." "I was going to tell you I couldn't make it at all," he admitted. That the Freeman launch had gone completely sideways. The calculated nature of it stunned her. "Does she know? That you're married to the correspondent she just promoted to the prime sideline segment?" "Of course she knows. Everyone knows. We're just careful. Not careful enough. Avery's shock was hardening into something else now, something cold and clear. Why didn't you just leave me, Daniel? Why the charade? His voice grew desperate. Because I love you, Avery. I've always loved you. It's just different with her. It's not better, it's just... Stop talking. Avery closed her eyes, her decision crystallizing. I don't want to see you again. Not here, not in Chicago. When I get home, you won't be there. Understand? Avery, please, she hung up, then blocked his number. For the next 2 days, Avery moved through her assignments like a ghost. Renee was suddenly unavailable, delegating through assistants. Daniel emailed from a new address, pleading for a conversation. Avery deleted everything unread. On the 3rd day, a FedEx package arrived at her hotel. Inside was her extra Super Bowl credential with a note in Daniel's handwriting. Please reconsider. I'll be there regardless. We need to talk. She stared at the credential, emblazoned with her network's logo and guest in bold letters. The pass that would have given him access to the most exclusive sporting event in America. The pass he'd planned to use while betraying her, and suddenly, Avery knew exactly what she was going to do. Super Bowl Sunday dawned clear and bright over Phoenix. Avery arrived at the stadium 5 hours before kickoff, her game plan as carefully constructed as those of the teams preparing to take the field. Her producer met her at the media entrance. Big day! Renee says your segment has been extended to 3 minutes. It's right after the national anthem, before kickoff. Perfect, Avery said, the professional mask firmly in place. Any particular angle she wants me to cover? The usual pre-game energy, fan reactions. Keep it lively, keep it moving. You're the last voice the audience hears before the coin toss. I won't let her down, Avery promised. Throughout the day, she positioned herself carefully, monitoring the VIP entrances between her scheduled reports. At 4:45 p.m., she spotted them, Daniel and Renee entering together. His hand at the small of her back in a gesture of easy intimacy that Avery recognized all too well. She watched from a distance as they made their way to the luxury boxes, laughing at some private joke. They didn't see her. The hours ticked down. The stadium filled. The pre-game festivities began. At 6:25 p.m., 15 minutes before her live segment, Avery made her way to her designated position on the sidelines. The stadium was electric now, a cauldron of anticipation and excitement. Ready for your big moment? Her camera operator asked as she clipped on her microphone. More ready than you know, Avery replied. The national anthem soared through the stadium. The fighter jet flyover roared overhead. And then her producer's voice came through her earpiece. Avery, we're coming to you in 30 seconds. She took a deep breath, adjusting her position so she was standing directly below the luxury box where Daniel and Renee sat. Camera 3's red light blinked, waiting. 10 seconds, the producer said. The monitor showed the main broadcast booth wrapping up. And now, let's go down to the field where Avery Chen is standing by. Avery? The red light glowed steady. She was live to millions. Thank you, James. Her smile was radiant, professional, the smile that had carried her through 15 years of broadcasting. I'm here on the field where in just moments, the biggest game of the year will begin. She moved along her prepared marks, the camera tracking her smoothly. The energy here is electric. Fans have traveled from across the country for this moment, this culmination of a season's worth of hopes and dreams. Behind her, the giant screen showed her broadcast. She knew, without looking, that Daniel could see her clearly from his luxury box perch. Some have sacrificed everything to be here today, she continued, her voice strong and clear. Some have lied, cheated, and betrayed the people who loved them most, just to claim their seat at this game. In her earpiece, the producer's voice came urgent. Avery! Stick to the script. She ignored it, continuing her walk across the sideline. Camera 3 following faithfully. I'm Avery Chen, and today was supposed to be the highlight of my career. Instead, it's become a moment of clarity. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the extra credential she'd been sent. This credential was meant for my husband, Daniel Chen, who planned to attend today's game without my knowledge, while I worked with the woman he's been seeing behind my back for our entire marriage. Cut to commercial. The producer's voice shouted in her ear, but the camera operator, caught up in the raw drama unfolding, kept the shot steady. Avery held the credential higher, making sure it was clearly visible to the camera. Daniel, I know you're watching from Luxury Box 23, where you're sitting with Renee Westfield, the executive producer of this broadcast and your girlfriend of 8 years. Consider this my response to your request to talk. She tore the credential in half, the sound of ripping plastic audible through her microphone. Sometimes in football, the most powerful statement is walking away from a bad play. So that's what I'm doing. I'm walking away. She unclipped her microphone, dropped it deliberately on the field, and walked straight toward the tunnel, head high. Behind her, stunned silence filled the stadium before a murmur rippled through the crowd. Just before she disappeared into the tunnel, a security guard stepped forward. Ms. Chen, you can't leave the field this way during a live broadcast. She fixed him with a steady gaze. Actually, I just did. The video went viral before Avery even reached the media parking lot. By the time she got to her hotel, Avery Chen was trending nationwide, eclipsing the Super Bowl itself for social media attention. Her phone exploded with notifications, messages from friends, family, colleagues, and thousands of strangers, most supporting her public stand against betrayal. Her network issued a terse statement about personal matters and professional standards, but the damage control came too late. The clips were everywhere, remixed, memed, and analyzed by internet sleuths who quickly confirmed Daniel and Renee's presence in the luxury box she'd identified. Zoe called as Avery was packing her hotel room, frantic with concern. My God, Av, are you okay? I don't even have words. I'm surprisingly fine, Avery replied, and meant it. Lighter than I've felt in years, actually. What are you going to do now? The network probably fired me the moment I dropped that mic. I haven't checked my work email yet. They can't fire you for this, Zoe insisted. The public would crucify them. You're a hero to wronged spouses everywhere right now. Avery laughed, the sound surprising her. That wasn't my goal, but I'll take it. Have you heard from him? 17 missed calls in the last hour, Avery confirmed. I haven't listened to any of the messages. And you're really okay? Avery sat on the edge of the bed, considering the question seriously. I'm not okay with being betrayed for my entire marriage. I'm not okay with being humiliated. But I'm okay with my response to it. It was legendary, Zoe agreed. Speaking of which, have you checked your other socials? You've gained about 1 million followers in the last hour. After hanging up, Avery finally opened her work email, steeling herself for the termination notice. Instead, she found a message from the network's CEO, Avery. While today's broadcast deviated significantly from our planned programming, it also generated the highest engagement of any pregame segment in network history. Your raw authenticity clearly resonated with viewers. Renee Westfield has been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into professional ethics violations. We would like to discuss your future with the network when you return to Chicago. In the meantime, take the time you need. Beneath it was a forwarded email chain showing that Renee had specifically requested Avery for the Super Bowl assignment 3 months ago, right after Daniel would have known Avery was being considered for the position. The pieces clicked into place. It hadn't been coincidence. Renee had deliberately orchestrated Avery's biggest career moment as a power play, or perhaps as some twisted gift to Daniel. Her hotel room phone rang, startling her. The front desk informed her that Daniel was in the lobby demanding to see her. I'm not available, she told them firmly. And I'm checking out within the hour. She finished packing quickly, then called for a different hotel across town, making a reservation under Zoe's name. As she prepared to leave, her phone rang again, an unfamiliar number. Against her better judgment, she answered. Avery Chen? This is Lena Washington from Spotlight Network. Avery recognized the name. Immediately, the head of talent acquisition for the country's leading women-focused sports network I hope you'll forgive the direct approach, Lena continued. But after witnessing your authentic moment today, I had to reach out. We've been following your work for some time, and what you demonstrated today, grace under extraordinary pressure, unwavering authenticity, and the courage to speak truth regardless of consequences, is exactly what our network values. Avery sat down, stunned. You're offering me a job? After what I just did? Especially after what you just did, Lena confirmed. Our viewers want real people with real experiences telling their stories. Your journalistic credentials are impeccable, and now you've shown you have the integrity to match. We'd like to discuss a primetime position if you're interested. By that evening, Avery was installed in her new hotel, with a new future unfolding before her. Her social media following had doubled again. 3 women's magazines had requested exclusive interviews, and a literary agent had emailed about a potential memoir deal. Daniel continued calling from new numbers. She continued ignoring him. 2 days later, as she prepared to board her flight back to Chicago, to pack her things and start fresh, her phone rang with another unfamiliar number. She almost declined it, thinking it was Daniel again, but something made her answer. Ms. Chen, this is Joseph Miller. I'm head of security for the stadium where you made your statement on Sunday, Avery tensed. I'm sorry about the disruption, but no apology necessary, he interrupted. Actually, I wanted to thank you. My wife left me 6 years ago after I cheated. I deserved it. Watching you stand up for yourself. It brought me back to that moment, reminded me of the damage I caused. Avery was silent, unprepared for this turn. Anyway, Joseph continued, after you left, there was a bit of a commotion in luxury box 23. Your husband tried to leave immediately, but his companion insisted on staying for the game. Apparently had too much invested in the broadcast to miss it. They had quite the argument. Security was called. Why are you telling me this? Avery asked quietly. Because by halftime, your husband was sitting alone. Box 23 seats 8. It's a lot of empty space for one person. Joseph paused. Sometimes people get so caught up in the game, they forget why they wanted to play in the first place. After hanging up, Avery stared out the hotel window at the Phoenix skyline. The Super Bowl was over. The winning team had been decided. Life was moving forward. Her phone buzzed with a text, not from Daniel this time, but from her new boss at Spotlight Network. Welcome to the team, Avery. Your first assignment is in New York next month. Women's Basketball Championship. You're the main anchor. She smiled, a real smile this time, and began planning her next move. Not for revenge, not to escape pain, but to step fully into the person she'd discovered on that sideline. Someone who knew her worth and wasn't afraid to walk away from those who didn't recognize it. The media storm would eventually pass. Daniel and Renee would fade into the background of her story. But Avery Chen, the woman who found her voice in the most public way possible, was just getting started. As she walked through the airport toward her gate, she noticed people glancing her way, recognition in their eyes. Some nodded in solidarity. Others whispered to their companions. A few gave her quiet thumbs up. Avery straightened her shoulders and kept walking. The most important game of her life was just beginning.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.